Sri Lanka is going to polls in a few days from now, and with me is the incumbent President Ranil Wickremesinghe. President Wickremesinghe, welcome to Firstpost. How are you?
Keeping fine. Haven't seen you for some time.
Yeah, it's been 1 year, exactly a year back. We were talking in the exact same room, and before that, in 2022, we had a conversation when Sri Lanka was on the brink of economic and social collapse, and that was a period of chaos, and that is when you took charge. When you look back, do you think you've been able to accomplish all that you set out to?
Yes. I wanted to have, I was going to establish stability, have a stable Sri Lanka, law and order being maintained, the democratic system to go ahead, and of course to put the economy back on track. I've done that. I think today morning, we finalized the last part of our negotiations regarding debt sustainability and bankruptcy. After Sri Lanka was declared bankrupt in 2022, with the measures we have taken, I have come to an agreement with IMF, with the 18 creditor countries. 17 we came to earlier with the official creditors committee. Early today morning, late night yesterday, early today morning, we came to an agreement with the China Development Bank, and finally we've come to an agreement with the private bondholders, those who represent a block or the majority of the private bondholders. So the next stage will be to declare that Sri Lanka has debt sustainability, and we will be moved out of the bankruptcy stage. Now that's what I want to do in 2 years. I have done that.
Fantastic. And the experts who've been following your actions and your policy moves see the changes, that there is social stability and the economy is in much better shape than what it was 2 years ago. But your critics say that you used excess force to dismantle the protest sites, and even in the economic reforms that you brought in, people complain that the taxes are still too high, the VAT rates that were introduced earlier this year are high, electricity bills are going up. Do you think that maybe the bitter pill was too bitter?
I don't think the bitter pill was too bitter. We had to take a pill at some time, and someone had to take a decision. No one was willing to take that decision, and I didn't want it to be another Greece taking 10 years. We are coming out of it. We had to raise our own revenue. We could no longer be printing money or borrowing money. Then you have to fall back on what are the monies you can raise from the people. And at that time, we had to raise VAT. I know the difficulties people went through, but I was also confident the rupee will be strengthened. Rupee was strengthened, certainly. We've had more revenue. We've been able to increase the welfare benefits. We are now increasing the salary of government servants as well as allowances. We still have a gap, which I will in 2025 be able to bridge, so that people will feel the life is back to normal. But that will be within 3 years.
But they're going to vote on Saturday. Do you think that they will get the message that their life is improving?
They have got the message. I've given the message, and many of them have got it, that this is a process, and we'll finish it in 3 years. They have also got the message that those who are trying to help them were those who were not willing to help them in 2022 and ran away. That is the major issue. Can you trust those who ran away?
Yes, the public memory, they say, is short, and the IMF, we understand, is pushing for more austerity measures, and this has been a trend, in countries like Kenya, where they asked the government to tighten its belt, and that led to protests, and that has been a criticism against the fund. Do you think that they're unfair to borrowers like you?
No, to begin with, they are not asked for any more austerity measures. And
they're not asking for more interest hikes.
No interest. Interest hikes will be decided by the market, not by the IMF. They left that to us. We have to raise more revenue, but not by directly taxing the people. And we had a discussion on the revenue side, and as far as payee was concerned, we decided to increase the slabs from 500,000 rupees to 720,000 rupees. So as the economy develops, there's more that benefits we can give the people, and as the rupee gets strengthened. Also remember that we have been able to increase social welfare awards by 3 times and increase the number from 1.6 million to 2.4 to 2.5 million. Then we've increased the salaries and allowances of the government servants. So that's one way of cushioning it. There's more to be done, I admit it, and we hope by next year to be able to certainly ensure that the cost of living is certainly more bearable to the people.
So you're saying the IMF is not pushing for any more tax reform?
Tax reforms, yes, but not directly taxing the people. There are things like wealth tax we have to go into, estate duty. There will be taxes that will be thought about, not directly on the people.
Right. You talked about debt restructuring deals, and it's been a complex conversation for you and negotiations. You signed 2 restructuring deals this year. One was with the OCC, the Official Creditors Committee, of which India is a part. The second was separately with China. And these were very, like I said, complex negotiations. Do you think it would have been easier for Sri Lanka had all the players been part of one framework?
Certainly it will be much easier, but then we are not expecting that to happen.
You did push the Chinese.
If I asked them also if they like to come together, but they said they are negotiate on different basis. So I think this has more to do with the power politics of the IMF and the share that China should get than anything to do with Sri Lanka.
Let's talk about the elections. You've been described as the old guard in this election, and the other 2 contenders are both in their mid-50s. In the last 2 years, as you went about fixing things in Sri Lanka, did at any point you think that you should pass the torch, or have you decided to sort of see the job done before you leave?
I thought both those guys are not energetic enough. And in fact, I
Not energetic enough?
Yeah, I thought I should give them some energy drinks. Even now they are far behind me. I came here, but I want to finish the job. What we've done is, we are now we've attained debt sustainability, and we get the bankruptcy label removed, but we've got to further ensure that we build on strong foundations where the economy is concerned, and we need an export-oriented economy. I only want to put that into place, and that's what I've asked the people to give me a mandate to get into export economy where incomes are increased, where people are better off, and we have to change the total economic structure of Sri Lanka. So I've asked for 5 years to do that, to finish the job I started. Otherwise, there will be another crisis in the next 10 to 15 years.
In the month of March, the Supreme Court was critical of you for having put off a local election, and you said you cannot have an election in the middle of an economic crisis. The crisis, as I understand, is still on, so why are we having this election?
We have to have parliamentary, far as the local authority elections are concerned, you couldn't have it, there was no money. Parliament agreed with it. I disagree with what the Supreme Court has said. But under our law and our constitution, we must have the presidential election and the parliamentary elections. And I thought it's time for the people. It was good. My idea was let the people decide what have we achieved and what's the road we want to go. Do you want to go on the old road and face another crisis, or do you want to go on a new road? So that is a matter for the people to decide.
So you see this election as basically an economic referendum. You belong to the United National Party, but you're contesting as an independent. Why are you distancing yourself from your party?
Because when I took over as president, my party had only one member and I was the member. And all of a sudden people from all parties came over. SLPP, the SLFP, from the SJB, the new UNP member who replaced me. And it really became a group of parties. And I sort of didn't take a political stand on issues. And I thought it's good for the country to have a president who can bring people around and not be stuck to one issue. It's a new development. I hope it will carry for the future.
This election has 38 candidates, a record number. Not one of them is...
39, like the 39 steps.
Not one of them is a woman, though, and even in the parliament, women's
I
representation
know,
is
I
less
also
than
said,
6%.
I also said they are not women. No, we brought in the Women's Empowerment Act, and next parliament we start enforcing it. We hope in the political reforms. My view on the political reforms we do is to have act of parliament regarding the political parties requiring a 25% quota of women even in the highest decision-making body.
That is good to know. You took power a couple of years back with support from Rajapaksa's party, SLPP, and the public anger was, and some of it still continues to be directed against them. Do you think that that is going to affect your chances in this election?
I took over the I took over the job as Prime Minister because no one else was doing it. Public is not angry with me on that. The SJB said they won't take it. They said publicly. JVP also didn't touch it. And then I became president because no one was wanting to be president either. Though again, no one wanted to touch it. As a result, I took over and I'm running the country. Now, those who ran away are now trying to find reasons by saying that the Rajapaksas are with me. But Rajapaksas are now contesting on their own. Namal is contesting.
What do you think of his chances?
I am not very positive about his chances, no. In my view, he should have thought twice before contesting. They should have had another candidate from their party. Anyway, they have now gone. So now that whole agreement, that whole propaganda has fallen. There is no Rajapaksa now. I am coming because I have performed and I think there is a little bit more for me to do.
Yes. The Supreme Court held the Rajapaksas guilty for the economic mismanagement that led to the crisis. But both Mahinda and Gotabaya Rajapaksa continue to live freely in Sri Lanka, reportedly with support and military protection. Why have they not faced any prosecution, at least for corruption?
When it came to Mr. Former President Maitripala Sirisena and the Easter bomb, there were fines imposed on them. When it came to the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Mahinda Rajapaksa, there were findings adverse to them, but nothing else was decided by the Supreme Court. Neither fine nor that they be prosecuted. So that is the position there is. We are bringing new anti-corruption laws. I asked IMF to advise me. We passed the Anti-Corruption Act, no one else did it. I have now brought the Proceed of Crimes Bill to Parliament.
But you're saying there's nothing more you could have done as President to sort of hold them accountable for the economic crisis?
So can I tell you what I'm doing? I brought we are dealing with corruption as a whole. Thirdly, the 5-year plan on anti-corruption, amendments to new law, to the existing laws like Money Laundering Act, Company Act, and training the people to take this over. What we want is to ensure there is no corruption in the future. As far as the past is concerned, well, whatever evidence was there was looked at, and there was no evidence to proceed against them. We had, in 2015, we had the bribery commission, we had the police inquiring into it, we had one of the senior lawyers, Mr. Valiamuna, be the advisor to the President, and there was the Anti-Corruption Secretariat, which was funded by the Prime Minister's office when I was the Prime Minister. The director was a nominee of the JVP called Mr. Ananda Vijaypala. He was not a lawyer, of course. And they asked for information. They prepared 400 files, and there was about prosecutions in regard to 15. None of these, certainly, they were not involved in those. So the actual inquiry was done by the JVP, and they couldn't find it. So why blame me?
No, I'm just asking.
I would have at least put a lawyer in charge of the Secretariat.
So you're saying there was no evidence against Rajapaksa?
I know they couldn't find any evidence, so we had to ask them what happened. But as far as I am concerned, for the future, we are making all the proposals. If anyone else has any accusation, they should come up with it.
Sure. We looked at opinion polls in the Sri Lankan media, and they seem to think that NPP leader Anura Dissanayake is the front runner. I'm not going to ask you about the opinion polls, but you spoke about Namal Rajapaksa. What's your impression of Mr. Dissanayake?
Mr. Dissanayake has been in the opposition. He has now become a threat to Mr. Sajith Premadasa. He is not a threat to me.
Okay. If he does, by any chance, manage to win, we know that his party has an anti-India past. What would it mean for the relationship between New Delhi and Colombo? And I ask this because we've seen things change vis-a-vis the Maldives and more recently with Bangladesh.
Why are you worried? He won't win.
But if he were to, would you worry?
I said he won't win, so why worry about it? I don't worry about things that's not going to happen.
Okay.
It won't snow in Colombo tomorrow. Why should I worry about it?
Fine. Top Indian officials, including Foreign Minister Jaishankar, hosted him earlier this year in February. Do you see this as an acknowledgement from India's side that there are other players who are rising, even if they may have had a hostile or an anti-India past, they must be engaged with?
That would be, that's what I presume. At the invite, I was told he was being invited. I said, very good. He should be invited. Let him go ahead. All the leaders of all the main parties are there. No, he's been invited. He went there. The Tamil party leaders are there. Sajith was invited. He didn't go there. That's all.
Right. Not just anti-India, his party has been accused of targeting minorities in Sri Lanka as well. Do you think that they've turned a new leaf, or do you think that the minorities should be wary of?
Don't ask me, ask that from Mr. Sumandiran, who said they are not against the minorities.
What is your advice to the minorities?
My advice to the minorities are, my advice to the majority. There is no issue of ethnicity or religion. We all suffered. It's the economy. Decide on the economy.
I think you've made it very clear that for you, the economy is the biggest agenda in this election, and that is what the voters should keep in mind when they go to the polling booths. The other big point is, of course, the governance system and the presidential system, and your opponents have promised to abolish it or at least dilute the powers of the executive presidency. Are you also going to do that?
Look, we have been talking of abolishing the executive presidency from 1982.
Yes.
Up to date, we haven't done it. This is just a bogey. You don't discuss main issues like the economy. You talk of the abolishing the executive presidency or how far you are going with the 13th Amendment. Nothing happens. We talk. But the major issues of the economy was always ignored. That's why we are in this. Far as the executive presidency is concerned, a new parliament will be given 1 year to come up with a new constitution. That's all. We made the new constitution in 1 year, less than 1 year when we came to power in 1977. All this is talk. No? How many people have come to abolish the executive presidency? If that is so, why are they fighting to become president now? A president can't abolish the executive presidency.
Yeah. Fair point. But I think all of these things do not have to be one versus the other. I don't
think people are taking it seriously. It's the economy they are looking at.
Okay, you mentioned the 13th Amendment and devolving powers to the northern Tamil province, and you've promised to implement the amendment, but you said the police powers is something that the parliament is going to decide. This is a half-hearted promise.
No, the economic issues have to be, there will be more powers given to the provinces. Police powers is something we discuss, but even in the north and the east, some of them are worried that if their opponents get it, they get locked up.
But the other two contenders are promising to implement it in full.
So let them, they will never do it, no, they could have done it all this time.
So you're saying that these are fake promises?
Otherwise, I mean, you can do it all this time if you wanted to do it. We didn't talk about it.
Yeah, but times change, and this is an expression of intent.
That expression of intent has been there now for the last 2 decades.
Sure.
Yeah.
Some hardline Tamil groups have decided to boycott the election. Some others are backing a common Tamil candidate, and yet others are backing Sajith Premadasa. Do you think the Tamil vote is going to be split in this election?
No, it will come to me.
It'll come to you.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
The politicians are backing different candidates. People are backing me.
Oh, do you have any survey, anything that has given you
Look,
this?
I've gone there. I know the people. It's going to happen.
That's very interesting. I think that's a headline there. Let's talk about regional politics as well. And we saw what we saw in Bangladesh. Did you see it coming? Did you imagine that this would happen in Dhaka?
I didn't think it would happen so fast. I knew there were problems coming up and it had to be dealt with. But looks as if the manner in which they handled it was really problematic. But what has happened in Bangladesh is that they created a hiatus. There's a vacuum in power. And once you have a vacuum in power, you can't really get a grip on it. This would have happened in Sri Lanka if what the opposition said took place. That is, no one was willing to be president. And then they were wanting to form a committee, have the speaker to be the president. Speaker said, I can't take it over. None of the leaders were willing to be take over and run the country. And I said, I am continuing unless someone else gets a majority. They burnt my house so that I would leave.
Yeah.
I thought my house is burnt, I don't want the country burnt, so I stayed on. Because power has to be there and it must be passed from one person to another. And you created a hiatus and you can see the consequences.
Yes, and the person who is in charge right now, his utterances and actions, of course Sheikh Hasina is in India and that has become a big point of contention and Bangladesh wants her to be extradited at some point. There is a question of minorities. There is visible tension between Dhaka and New Delhi. What is your advice to both these players?
First is to get stability into Bangladesh. And we are also investors. They have told the people to stay there. First give them confidence. And we should all help Bangladesh to get back on its feet. As far as Sheikh Hasina is concerned, these are what you call political issues. And it has to be decided in such a manner. Many leaders leave their countries, go abroad, and they remain abroad. So that's really a political matter. I think where you have to give priority is to Bangladesh becoming stable. And if Sheikh Hasina is out of the country, let her be out of the country.
That's your message to Muhammad Yunus?
That's my message to the question you have asked me.
Okay, fair enough.
I have spoke to Muhammad Yunus, they are willing to help. I have asked all our investors don't leave Bangladesh. But I think stability has to come quickly. I read that the army has been given additional powers, Bangladesh, that may be necessary at this stage, at this moment. We all want Bangladesh to get back to normalcy, then they can hold their election and decide who should run the country. Let's just focus on getting normalcy back, holding elections and letting the people decide who the new rulers are and let them get on with the job. Bangladesh has a great future. People should not ruin it.
Last year when I spoke to you, Mohammad Muizzu had just taken over in the Maldives and there was this whole anti-India, India out campaign that propelled him to power. And you said in our interview that he should go slow on his approach towards India. Do you think he's heeded your advice?
He's certainly more friendly with India now. He told me afterwards that he had to make some promises in the election. That's what he had to do. But I was there when Prime Minister Modi was sworn in, and I found the chemistry between them have really improved.
Is it because reality has kicked in and he realizes that working with India is the way forward?
You should go to Mahalia and ask that question from him.
I'm not sure I'll be welcome there. So since you've been talking to him, I thought I'll ask you.
Okay, I have not discussed that with you.
Next
time I'll ask him why he's not going to have you in Mali.
Yes, that will be nice. A word from you would definitely help, and we could do the interview there. Earlier this year, your government also imposed a moratorium on the Chinese, they call themselves research vessels, and since then none of those vessels has docked in Sri Lanka, but that is going to be lifted in January unless there is a revision in policy from Colombo's side.
There's a report. We stopped everything till the report came in. And also our desire to build up our own capacity on hydrology. I think the report should be available. I haven't looked at it, but we've looked at the practices, and let's see what's in the report.
What kind of pressure is there from Beijing to allow the ships to come?
No, Beijing likes its ships to come, but we explained to them that the report has to come in. And see, we generally allow ships to come in, but Beijing, their warships have come. I think there's a sailing ship also that was coming in. It's only in regard to some of the research, but we're also doing research. So
you believe that research bit? Do you think there's 5 ships?
Huh?
Do you believe that there's a research ships or?
The ships that have come in are research ships.
But they do other things also?
I don't know. I haven't gone into it. We haven't gone into.
They're coming to your country?
Yes, so they are coming as a research ship.
But do you share New Delhi's concerns that they may be indulging in spying as well?
We have talked with Delhi to ensure that there are nothing adverse to their security that's taking place. So we looked into those, and Chinese are aware of it. It's not something secret. We've told them also.
They continue to invest and pump money in Sri Lanka. Do you think that you guys are scrutinizing Chinese money more post the pandemic, or is it business as usual?
No, we look at their money, where it goes in. There are areas we approve. That's where they put their money into. There are individuals who come and put money through front people, but then that's happened not only with Sri Lankans, with Indians and everyone else. But outside that, you have to go through the Board of Investments, and they check on what are the investments. So far, the investments have been normal.
Okay, I had a lot more to ask, but I'm told you're out of time. But thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and wish you all the very best for the election.
Thank you.